it's a place of peace and harmony and comfort, ruled under the auspices of the seven fruits of the Holy Spirit. But here on the earth, this is the place where we're supposed to learn spiritual growth and learn lessons and work things out and so forth. And sometimes, and I'm sure many times, so many people have such struggles with that they just don't know what to do, where ending their life becomes the last resort. And I always encourage people to hold on to your dignity and your honor and don't give up the ship. Just keep going forward because each day is one day less and one day closer. And for those who know of someone who has taken their own life, the best thing you can do for them is pray for them in the hereafter. That those prayers, no matter what you say, it's all up to you. You don't have to say Hail Marys, you can say whatever comes from the heart. But certainly send them those prayers, encouraging them to help themselves over there. And I think the most difficult situation with suicide is the parents who lose a youngster, whether it's an adult or a young person, to that act. They can immediately feel that they failed them when they haven't. And also, dealing with emotions here is very difficult. Most of the souls will come through that took their own life and will say the real cause of their passing was being sick at heart. And that usually rounds up into depression, anxiety, hopelessness, anything of that nature. Now, the month of June, and I'm not preaching religion, but the month of June is the month of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And I always encourage people to pray to the Sacred Heart on behalf of their loved ones who have passed on, whether from taking their own life or just natural causes. Certainly, the Sacred Heart of Jesus, the souls have told me, is all encompassing and compassionate. And the Creator never gives up loving us no matter what. So if you feel unloved, just realize that the Creator never gives up on loving you. Particularly, they know of the traumas you can face and difficulties you can go through here. And even our loved ones can too. They're not so far away as we think. Remember, they're just here, but in the world unseen. And yet they can be aware of our problems, our difficulties, our things that are really making us feel dreadful. But it's just so difficult to understand that we have to find it for ourselves. They can help us to help ourselves, but still the main job is up to you. That's why I encourage you to always try to maintain your dignity and your honor. If I could speak, that would help. Your dignity and your honor, and try to not let all those dark and ugly thoughts overwhelm you. having feelings, as I said earlier, is what the souls have told me is the greatest struggle here on the earth. And it can happen in many different ways. Some people can be struggling with depression or anxiety for years. Men are more stressed here than women are. Men have a difficult time because men are not, by society, allowed to speak or show their emotions. So men are definitely more frustrated here. So you may not be alert to the fact that they're having overwhelming problems. Always seek professional help. Reach out to somebody. Don't just throw in the towel and give up. If you've gotten this far, you can make it to the end. And that's the thing. You want to arrive there when you're supposed to be there and not force yourself to be there because of difficulties that you are indeed going through. So always keep in mind the suicide hotline 988. Take advantage of it. That's what our tax dollars pay for. And this way, speak to someone, I'm sure, that would be very helpful and understanding. Also, don't be shy, especially if you're a male, about reaching out to a friend or an acquaintance, somebody you feel you can trust, and would look out for your well being through understanding. But I always found that difficult to understand that men are more frustrated here, especially in grief situations. Men will suffer in silence, keep themselves self contained, and keep it to themselves. And that just makes things get worse. But society, again, doesn't help men, doesn't allow them to show their concerns and sensitivities. They'll just, if you tell somebody you're depressed, their first reaction is snap out of it, cheer up, whatever. That's dime dime advice, and it doesn't help. In I always encourage people that are in a Catholic belief system of their own choice to always reach out to Saint Dymphna because she's the patroness saint of people who deal with mental and emotional struggles. There's been times in the past where I have reached out to her, but keep in mind, they don't wave a magic wand and make it all go away. We wish they could. And I'm sure you certainly wish they could. But the souls cannot stick their nose into our spiritual purpose here, no matter how difficult they may seem that it is, or it seems to us in any case. And also, St. Barbara, I notice in many of my sessions, will make an appearance, and she has different interpretations. It could be a clue for the name Barbara, but also because she's the patroness saint of prisoners, she will reach out to somebody with compassion and consolation, knowing that they feel stuck or that they're failing here. And remember, we all have stress. It's a definite addiction. You don't have to pay for it, but it certainly pays all of us a visit at some time of our lives, and some will have a worse time than others. That's why if you have pets, always look upon them as a comforting and loving source because they can sense when you're in despair and anguish and always rely on them to comfort you because that's what they do. So many souls tell me when they pass on that animals or pets will come to them first. And what do? They instantly put them at ease. They make them feel everything's going to be all right, and it is, and everything will work out for them. So I've said it hundreds of times that when my time comes, I hope I just drop dead and my kitty cats come for me. And that will be certainly blissful for me. Somebody's pet dog may come for them, or dogs, or cats, or even birds have come. Whatever of the animal species you loved, always know that it never stops loving you. Animals are the apple of the Creator's eye. And I remember one time years ago, um, I was in conversation with a staunch traditional Catholic priest who had, and I myself am a traditionalist spiritually, but none of this, not necessarily anything in any other way. But having the discussion with him, he had seen my program that I used to do years ago on cable. And there was an elderly man and his son, who was an adult, who I discerned for. And the man had just lost his wife. And that's another thing I've learned is that it's very much more difficult to be a widower. Not that women don't have a tough time, but men definitely do. They suffer in silence. And so this man's wife came forward along with to him and his son. And the uh, wife also made mention that the dog that they had recently lost was there with her, all right, and in a happy place. And I just noticed the tremendous comfort, look of comfort that came over their faces. And when this priest saw the tape, he was horrified. Beware, beware. It's the work of the devil and all this. I said, really? Then why did St. Francis preach to the birds? Was he drunk or on drugs? And why did certain saints show such compassion and love toward animals? St. Francis of Assisi, who I took for my confirmation because of animals, and St. Martin de Porres, who raised a dead dog from the dead because he saw how distressed the dog's owner was. And St. John Macias had gone into a well to save a sheep from drowning. So saints have shown tremendous compassion for animals. And that's one thing I've noticed. I've never, ever had any type of discomfort with this ability or frightened by it or anything that you'd see on these spooky shows on television. That's all for ratings. It's all just horse manure in my mind. And I would hope that you would realize the same thing. Not every time you blow your nose is it a psychic experience. It's not. And realize that if you don't own a pet, might not be a bad idea to go to the neighborhood shelter and adopt one or at least volunteer to go there because the animals will always be very happy to see you and show their love and compassion. if we all could be like them, we'd be the apples of the Creator's eyes even more so. But we have to progress and grow accordingly. Now, I don't know if we have any announcements or we do, so let me declare them to you.
Well, let's get started with the questions.
Okay, let's start with the questions first because we're still having technical difficulties.
Okay. When we dream, we obviously aren't in our physical bodies, but we think we are. Is this the same perception we get when our souls cross over?
Well, many souls, when I'm doing a discernment for a subject, uh, a soul will pass in a sleep like state or an unconscious like state. And it's like walking from one room to the next. They'll feel that when they initially get there, that they're dreaming. Or if they've had very distinct points of view when they were here, not that there's anything wrong with this, but many souls are, when they were here on the earth, are atheist or agnostic. So they have a little trouble comprehending when they arrive there. And that's why the animals will come to them first, because I've been told that the animals immediately put them at ease and make them feel loved and appreciated. And from there, they come to realize as they look back and see that they're out of their physical body, that the transition has indeed taken place. And they'll recognize being in the perpetual light and the very lovely feelings that exist over there. They usually will be very happy to adapt. Now, there are some souls sometimes that go over there that I always get a kick out of them. They want to speak to the management because they don't think it was their time and they shouldn't be there. But with gentle and persuasive reasoning from other souls there, especially of their loved ones, or angelic forces or such, they find out that they are supposed to be there. Because if you're not supposed to be there, they send your rear end right back here. And most souls are not too happy about that. So just do your best to keep making each day one day less and moving forward and being a compassionate, consoling person as much as you can be. Nobody here is perfect, including myself. We're all on our own spiritual experience. And the perfect soul, I've been told, is who, for the love of the Creator, is obedient in all things until death. And what they mean by that is that you're obedient to your spiritual endeavors here and your spiritual experience that you've chosen to do before you've come here. Certainly, there's going to be some trials and tribulations along the way, but put your faith in the Creator, knowing that He or she is always with you and eager to help yourself. All you have to do is call out, but they don't wave magic wands. They can't do it for us. We have to learn it for ourselves. I've repeated that a million times over the years and continue to, as they continue to remind me and subjects that come for sessions, that it's all up to us. We're always in the driver's seat.
Do our loved ones come closer to us on the anniversary of their deaths?
I really don't know, um, because they always report that they're closer to us than we can imagine. Um, and since um, I've been getting more intense understanding with the souls over there, that I can finally, in some instances, recognize that they are closer to us than we can imagine. Um, they certainly do try to help us to help ourselves. They do certainly try to be there for us, and keep that in mind, that they are there for you. Those that you have lost certainly still love you, and their only complaint usually is about somebody here is that they think too much. And unfortunately, being in a grief situation can cause you to think, did I go wrong here? Or what did I do wrong here? How did I not notice this? Because everybody's on their own individual, unique experience. And they do the best they can. And the souls in the hereafter and the angelic forces will recognize that we do the best we can. Now, I have been told that angels are always on tap for the slightest prayer. So I always encourage people to call out to their guardian angel or a particular angel that they may know about or feel an affinity with, because the angel will certainly help you to help yourself.
Do the souls in the hereafter say anything about what is going on here on Earth with war and politics?
hmm You had to bring that one up. Okay, I might as well tell you. In the sessions I've been doing lately, um, somebody's relative normally comes through and expresses sadness for us because they know what we're going through here, and the soul that passed on doesn't stick it to us, but they state, I'm glad to be out of there when I see all the BS that's going on there. And then they always add at the end, sarcastically, and the fun hasn't even really started yet. So that gives me reason to wonder what's up ahead. They have told us it's going to be a very difficult, trying time. And but we still have to try to fulfill as much as we can, and not let it bring us down with fear or apprehension. But I can honestly say there's some souls here on the earth that probably are going to someday get a humdinger of a surprise when they cross over there as to where they end up going to or sending themselves to.
Okay, and just a reminder to post your questions for George in the chat or comment box on YouTube so that we can see them and ask him your questions. Do you speak to souls in purgatory?
It's rather confusing because at one time the souls had told me that we are the souls in purgatory, which I could believe, because purgatory is the place of spiritual cleansing or spiritual growth. But then there's the two darker levels, and they have told me that when the Redeemer said, in my Father's house there are many mansions, he was actually referring to spiritual planes. And from what I understand so far, there's at least 10 of them. But the first two are the darker levels. Those who have been restless with their lives and lacking spirituality of their own free will usually end up there. It doesn't seem to be a place of fire and brimstone, but it is cold, damp, dark, and murky. You're never condemned there forever. But I've been told by certain souls that they've tried to go down there to those lower levels to do, so to speak, social work to get souls to redeem themselves to come into the light. And some of the souls there aren't the least bit interested. I was shocked to hear they found out that some of them have been there for what we would understand as centuries, even though there is no conception of time, that they have created that unfortunate reality for themselves and have condemned themselves there, but they're never condemned perpetually. The Redeemer and the Creator are definitely very loving and consoling and will be willing to help you to help yourself if you seek that out. But souls have told me they've gone down there to try to administer to them with gentle persuasion and reasoning. And some of the souls there are just nasty SOBs that desire to stay there. I don't think somebody like Stalin was surprised going there, considering that he was ruthless and letting all the Ukrainians starve to death. So, but the place that makes it unpleasant is, I would imagine, the first level is the darkest of the two. Can I call it hell? Perhaps, but there's no fire and brimstone. But the road to reformation is never closed. It's up to you. The second plane, darker plane, may be a form of purgatory. And again, we can change there. And that's why certain saints and angelic beings will go down there to try to help souls to help themselves. But there's plenty of souls there who just do not want to, and no force is exercised. It has to be completely up to you and for you to reach out and want to adapt to that, getting into the light. I don't think, but some souls seem to like being there for whatever reason. Maybe they're afraid to go into the light because they fear judgment or punishment. And they thought that for when they were here on the earth, that you go to hell or whatever, or God condemns you, or the Redeemer condemns you. And such may not be the case. It's always willing to take a shot at redeeming yourself and growing into the perpetual light and love.
Why does God allow us to suffer physically and emotionally so much when we have tried so hard to live a good life?
Well, to be honest with you, the Creator has nothing to do with that. He's not responsible, he or she is not responsible for your sufferings and your struggles. Those things are lessons that come to you where you learn and grow. And the most difficult ones can be the greatest ones that raise us into the light in the next stage. I know people, when there's a tragic death in the family or of a youngster or whatever, the first thing that goes out the window is the Creator, because human nature, they have to have somebody to blame. And which is wrong to blame, because that's not how the Creator functions and that's not how the Redeemer functions. It's again up to us. They certainly can feel emotion toward us from going through those emotional struggles and sufferings. They're not cold hearted, but they also realize we're on our chosen growth and experience, and the Creator Himself will not interfere. They realize that this is the best thing for us to learn and grow in. So pray to help the Creator to be of assistance toward you, or ask a loved one to help you to help yourself. But realize what happens to us has a purpose and a reason, even if it seems like the most dreadful thing that could ever happen. But there's growth in that, spiritual growth in that. And it's up to us to try our best to live with it and move with it, knowing that there's a happy ending at the end of our existence here.
How are you feeling health wise?
Super swell. I've got a pacemaker in there now. And let's hope I have no more visits to the doctor or the hospital. Oh, they're so weary. Every time you think everything's all right, something else. But I don't think there's anything happening now. I have a very good team of physicians, cardiologists that are keeping an eye on me. And my last report from the cardiologist was quite positive. So when they were asking me in the hospital, how do you feel? I would say to them, swell, because that's how I feel.
What made you decide to tell someone about your ability? It must have taken courage.
Um, I don't know if it took courage because I've always lived with this. I did keep silent about it. And that was probably because in the old days, people were not so receptive to it as they may be now. And there certainly are still people who are not receptive to it. And it's not my mission to break their arm to believe anything. If you're open minded and want to believe it, wonderful. If you don't want to, that's fine too. Because one of these days you'll have to head that way, the same as all of us. And I always love when a soul comes through to their loved ones here and ask that the subject tells Joe Blow, you've heard from me. I'd love to see how he reacts. And they usually laugh because Joe Blow thinks this is a load of horse manure. And the soul from over there says, Joe Blow's going to find out for himself that I'm right as usual. So they're not the least bit disturbed or uninclined, because that's one thing they do say about us here on the earth. There are those people, and it's not said in judgment or hostility, that we have to admit are blowhards. They think they have it all figured out, and we still have those people who feel when you're dead, 6 feet under, and that's the end of it. And if that's the way they like to believe, if that's what gets them through the day, more power to them if that's how they feel. Because eventually they will cross into the perpetual light or whatever greets them over there according to how they've lived. So that's why it's always encouraging to do the absolute best you can whilst here.
Do suicides hold on to depression, mental illness, and anger to those who contributed to the act?
Could you repeat that, Angus? That's a real deep question.
Do suicides hold on to depression, mental illness, and anger to those who contributed to the act?
Kind of yes and kind of no. Usually, once they cross over and realize they're in the perpetual light and in a happy place, that ugliness goes away. Um, if they choose over there to hold a grudge against individuals that contributed to helping them to put themselves out of misery. I've said it before, it's come through in sessions. Yes, forgiveness is great, the greatest thing, but I do believe it's overrated. If I knew of somebody who was, many souls have come through who were bullied here to the point of they just don't know what else to do but give up, and they try to keep it to themselves. So, yes, they can still feel a sense of anger and frustration because feelings are allowed over there. But once you find out you're out of here and in that perpetual light, you're released from anxieties and depressions because those would be things of the physical world. But there are some souls who have come through and talked about people who were not very nice to them and bullied them and picked on them unmercifully. And the soul has told me they're not very happy with them and they haven't forgiven yet or have chosen not to forgive yet. And I'm not going to interfere in their decision either, telling them what I've learned is the right thing to do. Forgiveness is supposedly greater and love more powerful than hatred. But there's souls that go over there that are still pissed off that somebody was so unnecessarily unkind and hostile toward them that they just lost the control here and fell off the edge, so to speak. And I can't say I would blame them for being pissed off still over there because, but they can grow out of that. They can find their way out, but it's up to them. But I do sympathize with them for being pissed off because I'm sure there's plenty of you viewing right now that realize humankind is not very kind sometimes. And the only living things in this dimension are the animals that bring a smile to our face most all the time. And that's another thing. Cruelty to animals, ooh, that's a big no-no over there. So I would advise anybody who thinks cruelty to an animal is excusable, you'll find out the hard way that it's not. And they're not too fond about hunting. Hunting for survival, that they seem to understand. But hunting just for sport and taking some innocent animal's life is not what they're thrilled about over there. Even when years ago, when I visited Teddy Roosevelt's home here on Long Island, Sagamore Hill, it was a great house that he got for 16,000 with all the property at that time. But I could never understand all the, I guess he had gone on several hunting expeditions and had animal heads all through his house. And that just gave me the creeps, to be honest with you. I wouldn't want to see somebody be unkind to one of my cats. If you want to get the worst out of me, try it. and such can go with other people that know that in their time they have been unnecessarily cruel to an animal, especially when you're young. And we've all made mistakes in our life. And the thing is to recognize them and grow from them, realizing that everything has a specific purpose.
Do those who die by suicide always go to the lower plane, and how can we pray for them?
Some of them have reported to me that they don't necessarily go to the lower levels. They can contribute to ending their lives accidentally, and they would maybe go to the third level, but still be in the light. Our prayers embrace them with our love and help to send them loving energy and helps them to grow and grow in the world unseen. But again, not all souls, most souls have said to me they wish they had given themselves more time or thought it over because before choosing that episode in their lives, because it's trying for them, but it's trying also for those who they left behind. And when they see that of whom they've left behind in the family or those that have loved them and cherished them, and they see how it has definitely upset them and turned their world upside down. They have expressed to me that they feel from the from the world unseen, a grievance toward what they see them going through. So they do try to soothe us and let us know that they're near in whatever way they can. But remember, the one thing they always, and it's not really a complaint, it's actually kind of humorous when a loved one who has contributed to ending their life reaches out to the surviving individual or individuals here. They always state their only complaint is that the soul here in the physical thinks too much and they think the wrong way. And they always show me a quote out of the book Alice in Wonderland, which reads, "It takes all the running you can do to stay in the same place," because that's what's happening with the survivors here. They try to get to the bottom of it. They blame the creator, they blame a saint or whatever, but they don't realize that they're running and they're staying in the same place. They're not making progress. So praying for their loved one is the most wonderful thing you can do for them.
Do you ever have unaccompanied pets come to see you?
I don't understand. Unaccompanied
Pets,
pets.
I guess not with other souls in the hereafter.
Oh no, the animals usually come who cherish them and love them. And if somebody had a pet themselves when they were here and the pet passes on, that pet will be very excited about that individual's soul coming over again and they'll reunite together. But the thing is, it just seems like such a pleasant thing to experience that the animals come first because what do? They instantly put you at ease. They always make you feel good. They always make you feel that everything is going to be all right. And that's why when they realize that their loved one in the physical has made the transition into the world unseen, they're very, very happy to see and be reunited with them again.
Do you feel connected to others on the other side during your experience in the hospital? Did you?
Um, I did, unbeknownst to me, I don't remember anything about it, but I do the last time I was in prior to getting the pacemaker. Um, I did flatline, I was told, for about 15 seconds. I did remember as time had gone, I really didn't remember anything. But as the days passed, I had some remembrances of being in like a dark room, but not frightening, very comforting. It was like being enveloped in a warm, secure blanket and feeling very peaceful, exceptionally peaceful. I remember saying to myself, "Oh, this is very nice. This is must be what it feels like." And then the next thing I knew, I thought I had just fallen asleep for a moment. And I woke up and all these doctors and nurses were around my bed. And I said, "What's going on? Why is everybody here?" And I was told that one of the nurses got the signal at the nurses station that my, whatever the heck they called it, arrhythmia, something was going up and down and up and down. And she saw me flatline and she jumped on me hell so fast and started pushing my chest and bringing me back. And she obviously brought me back. And that's what I do remember. But I don't remember feeling her jumping on me or pushing on my chest or anything. At the time that that was happening, I probably had flatlined and momentarily left the physical body, and all I felt was joyfulness and peace. Although I did not see a light, I just saw a very secure feeling of darkness, and it was not frightening. It was very endearing. So, but she brought me back, and I came back, and they moved me to have the pacemaker put in the next day. So there we go. That I do remember. But it was a peaceful, joyful experience for that 15 seconds. I will say that.
Can the souls in the hereafter see us? Are they able to know how our lives are here?
They have given me the impression that they can see us because remember, the world that they're in is right here. It's just that it's unseen by us. We're in the physical, they're in the spiritual or the soul body. Um, but just because they're there, they may not know everything what's going on with us here. That's why lately I've noticed they'll bring up in an individual session that the loved one talks to them all the time. And they love that because they like you to tell them what's going on here. And you can tell them how much you miss them and how much you desire to be with them again someday. They love all of that. But because somebody passes on, don't get the impression that they suddenly understand trigonometry and algebra, or nuclear science, because that not be the case. They still can see, excuse me, things going on with us here. But I've learned that they enjoy us talking out loud to them or in your mind, because that confirms for them that your subconsciousness is feeling their presence. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing it in the middle of, King Cullen, but when you're at home by yourself, or you suddenly seem to feel them around, don't hesitate to speak to them. They very much love it.
Are individuals who had specific talents in the physical world, such as those in art, music, able to use those skills in the hereafter?
Yes, I have had souls state that whilst they were here on the earth, they might have been an exceptional musician or composer, artist, whatever, and they will work from over there to help souls here to help themselves or find their direction. Um, like, for example, the art that I do, believe me, it's nothing to brag about, but I, in high school, never enjoyed geometry, and I still can't see the purpose of why they made us learn that. But I am fascinated for some reason by geometric symbols and pieces. So my art is abstract in geometrics. And I haven't done it lately, but I'm going to start getting back to it again because people have been asking me, and we'll put it up for eBay or such. But I actually been away from it so long, I think I've made a mistake because now I'm nervous about going back to it. And I've torn up a few canvases, stating to myself, well, that just looks like a piece of you know what. But I shouldn't do that to myself, because even the souls will tell me, just because you're not doing it like some famous artist, don't do that to yourself. You're doing it the way you choose to do it. So always be comfortable with whatever angle you find is best for you. And I would recommend that to people here on the earth that are musically inclined, artistically inclined, theater inclined, whatever. You do what you feel is best for you. Never compare yourself or judge yourself with someone else.
If someone is not baptized, will they still go to heaven?
I sure hope so, because I know there's people in my family that belong to certain Protestant sects, sects, and they were not baptized. So I'm sure that they're still going to find themselves in the light by however they lived here. Now, you have to realize it's only Christians who believe in baptism. Just so you know, I was baptized. But also, too, I did a session many years ago for a woman who had lost a child in early infancy, and she had not had the child baptized. So it came up in her session that she was very much frightened that the child was in limbo. And the souls in the hereafter told me, horse manure. The child's not in limbo. The child is in the light with us. And that made more sense to me, because that's an old Catholic belief that the soul is sent to limbo. What for? I just don't understand it, but there's people out there will think differently. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for free. Something in life, finally for free. YouTube subscribers only
Subscriber only content.
subscriber only content coming in 2 weeks. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on. Sessions are available through March 2026. We do have a website. Autograph books are on the website. Just have to cough it up, the dough, and we'll be happy to send you an autograph copy. Sacramentals, I've found them and they will be on eBay shortly. As of now, georgeanderson.com, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads at George Anderson Medium if you like to follow. And until the next time, I will say thank you very much for your attention. I'm very grateful. That's another thing the souls have taught us is always to be grateful. It's the most simple things that turn out to be the most profound. So for your attention, I am grateful and glad to have shown it with you. Until the next time, may the Creator and the Redeemer bless you all and your loved ones with love, both here and hereafter. Thank you.